start seeing thunder and lightning. So that's a good thing. And I think a week from tomorrow, the first spring training game. So a lot of work to get done on behalf of the players before they actually tee it up against the Texas Rangers to kick off the Cactus League season for the Royals.
Yeah, it's nice to know that everybody is officially on the field. I'm going out there on Friday, so looking forward to seeing that. And, you know, it's this time of year, we've talked about it before, where everyone has optimistic expectations. Well, I shouldn't say everyone. I mean, there are always going to be naysayers, whether you are a Red Sox fan, even a Cardinals fan, or down to the bottom of the line. But this is certainly the most optimism we have seen. I think it's always an interesting time because everybody believes, and I was texting with a scouting friend of mine the other night that's in the National League that just said something along the lines of it's always entertaining to read some of the stories because it's a very dreamy time of the year, right? Everything is painted with rose colored glasses because there's the hope, there's the expectation, there's no numbers yet, and so there's just the hope that they can be what you want them to be. Some do, some don't.
Yeah, and I say this really every year and a half for now, probably a couple of decades. When you look around the clubhouse in a Major League spring training camp, a lot of teams on paper are created fairly equal. And it seems like it always boils down to the depth of the teams that have the ability to win. They have to stay relatively injury-free. They have to have those guys that have surprise seasons, and you never know who those guys are going to be. Obviously, last year for the Royals, I'll say that was Ervin Santana, a guy that came out and did a great job in the rotation to give the Royals a chance to be really in the hunt for the entire second half of the season, something we've not seen for quite some time. But, again, you look around every clubhouse in baseball, the players at least feel like they have a chance to go out and have a good opportunity to be competitive during the course of the year. Now, sometimes you say, well, if this guy can do this and this player can do this, and maybe we can get one guy at the All-Star break to get us over the hump, then we have a better chance. But a lot of ifs and ands, but again, every team's thinking that way at this time of year. Well,
the excitement on the Royals, I think, is understandable based on the win total last year, their highest since 1989. You know who was the team home run leader back in 1989?
I'm going to guess Danny Tartabull.
Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson.
And you know who led the team in wins in 1989?
That would be Sabes.
Yes. You know what Eric Hosmer and Salvador Perez were doing?
Were they born?
No.
Oh, I didn't think so.
So that gives you a pretty good idea. You know, I heard from somebody on Facebook the other day that says, you know, I'm excited about this team. I've never seen them win in my lifetime. And I saw like the picture of him as like him and, you know, his kids. The guy's 30 years old. I mean, you know, he's an adult. And so there's reason for the excitement. There's also reason why some people, I mean, I still hear from some people, I don't really get it, that think this team is going to have a win total in the low 70s, which, I mean, look, if you want to come back and throw egg on my face at the end of the year, fine, but I don't think that's going to happen, even if a lot goes wrong. But that is the beauty of baseball, I guess, is that we all see things in different ways, but a lot of people are skewed because they've just never seen the good things happen. And I think there are a lot of good things that we are seeing right before our eyes. We saw a lot of that last year.
Yeah, and I think in fairness, you have to look at every team. And looking back to last season, there was a 10-game improvement in the win column, something that you don't see very often. You looked at teams that maybe went from having sub-500 records to being contenders like the Royals were down the stretch. And then some teams actually got in the playoffs that were sub-500 teams. Look at the Boston Red Sox, the way they turned the season around last year and win a world championship.
And they were being criticized left and right in the offseason and heading into spring training about having made all the wrong moves and all this, which you never really know.
Yeah, so all these things have to go right. Like, fortunately for the Red Sox, changing the manager, the guy running the ship, that had a huge impact on the attitude of the team. They went a long way. As a result of that, they made some changes with the personnel that had an impact. So, again, those things have to happen. So, like I mentioned earlier, you have to stay healthy. Like for the Royals, in my opinion, they improved offensively. They were able to maybe take care of some issues that they had on that revolving door. Who's going to play second base? Who's going to be at the top of the lineup? What are we going to do at the top part of the lineup? So now the lineup part is set. So you would expect that there's going to be a benefit or a bonus during the course of the year that they didn't have last year, which led to just absolutely a terrible month of May, primarily due to lack of offense. So You have to stay away from the slumps like they had in May. And then you have to have someone that's going to step in and pick up in that rotation to make that rotation be somewhat close to what it was last year, because that rotation, in my opinion, was the biggest difference maker in that team.
No question about it, and I think that's been the big question is who is going to replace Ervin Santana. And we'll touch on that, but that leads us to sort of some related moves. And so this will be our move of the week, brought to you by the Independent Tire Dealers, locally owned and operated. Find an independent tire dealer near you by going to itdroll.com or call 1-877-ITD-ROLL. Everybody's been waiting for the two big free agent pitchers on the market to sign. Now, there were a couple of others early on, like Matt Garza, but the two with compensation attached, Ervin Santana and Ubaldo Jimenez. Ubaldo Jimenez ends up signing with the Orioles, 4 years around, I think it was around $50 million. They give up a draft pick. The Indians get a draft pick. And so there really, I think, are implications in a lot of directions. Obviously, implications in the American League East. Implications for the Indians as it helps them build and get an extra draft pick, and so that's good for them. And then implications for Ervin Santana. What is he worth? Ubaldo Jimenez has not had the kind of did not have the kind of season last year that Ervin had. He was pretty awful the first half. But if they get the Ubaldo Jimenez that we saw the last couple months of the season, he's worth double that $50 million. If they get the Ubaldo we saw the first half and before that, the year before, he's not even worth half of that contract.
Well, he was able to correct some mechanical issues that he had to allow him to be more consistent in the lower part of the strike zone, and we saw what a difference that made in him. In fact, I think one of the games that he kind of got things turned around was against us in a game that we were expecting maybe, I can't remember who started for the Royals, but we were kind of thinking, the chance of losing this game are slim for the Royals because Jimenez is going to walk the yard. He goes out and maybe had some issues in the first inning, and he just nailed it down, and he got on a roll, and that really kind of turned his season around. And obviously, it's going to be paying huge dividends for him once he's now signed a nice contract with the Baltimore Orioles.
Okay, so I asked you this question, and you may not know. Maybe you have a theory, maybe you don't. But I think that a lot of fans have held out hope, some more than others, that the Royals could get Ervin Santana. I think that door closed a while back. My question to you is, why has Ervin not signed yet? Now, initially, his agents went out there and they were talking, over $100 million. Obviously, the market wasn't dictating that, but no one seems to be jumping at him. And you cannot tell me, and I saw at least a report today that any interest from the Jays, that they may be backing off. And so there aren't a lot of teams right now. It can't be as simple as teams don't want to give up the compensation pick. I think that's a real simple cop-out. I think that there's something to it, but what is it?
I think the lack of consistency in the body of work of his career is the biggest factor, and I think there's also some concern that there could potentially be an elbow issue based on the amount of sliders that he throws. He's a guy that throws a lot of sliders. He's got a dynamic slider, and I would throw it. In fact, I did. I threw a slider a lot, just like he did, because when you have a quality pitch like that, you want to use it to your advantage, and he did a great job of that. But I think the consistency factor, more than anything, if you look at it, his entire body of work has been the real deal. Now, last year about this time, we talked to Mark Gubicza about Ervin Santana. He was very high on Ervin Santana because just like Ubaldo Jimenez did this year, Santana turned it around toward the second half of the 2012 season. He carried it right into 2013. He was spectacular. Remember the first game he pitched here in Kansas City on opening day, the home opener. You could tell then that he was the type pitcher that was going to, he was going to pitch well in the ballpark. And the Kauffman Stadium is really cut out for an Ervin Santana type guy, and he took advantage of that. He took advantage of his defense, and he just got on that roll. But I think there's still that concern that from a consistency factor, you're not going to maybe get the same Ervin Santana for the next 3 or 4 years, whatever it takes to sign him, that you got from him last year.
And whatever it is, I mean, I've heard a lot of people. I hear Randy whenever he's out there, or certainly on Twitter, and a lot of the people that would prefer an Ervin Santana, and in many cases, I think because of just the real strong strikeout potential and the things that he can do that just on paper look better than a Jason Vargas. The Royals went about this offseason with wanting to get certainty, not just cost certainty, but performance certainty as they bring up these young guys, and that really is the key, those three young pitchers. But they can't afford to have somebody locked in for 4 years and the uncertainty of what might or might not happen. Now, if you can tell me, or forget about me, them, you're going to get the Irvin that you got last year, and you're going to get that for, the next at least 3 years, they would jump on that in a heartbeat. But so would every other team. And I've got to think that every team is viewing this the same way. Irvin was spectacular last year. I would take him along with anybody in baseball any day of the week if we knew that was going to happen. There's something that's holding it back. And so I'm interested to see where he ends up. But I think at this point, it's not going to be here.
And you'd made the comment about he was looking for something north of $100 million in his deal. And I read an article around the early free agent period where it gave a great case on what his agent was making a case for about a $112 million contract. They were using all these comparables, Zach Greinke being one of those comparables. And if you look at the numbers and you look at his career, with the exception of strikeouts and the fact that he has not won a Cy Young like Zach Greinke, they were fairly consistent numbers, Zach Greinke compared to Irvin Santana. And I really thought that someone was going to jump and say, hey, we're willing to go all in for Irvin Santana. We're going to play this $100 million card, and we're going to take him and really kind of take our chances with him. And obviously that has not happened.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on that as it plays out. Want to take our first break because when we come back, expecting to hear from the Royals' new third base coach, Dale Swaim. You play against him at all?
I sure did. Yeah, we were really contemporaries.
All right, so we'll have to talk about that a little bit. And he has experience having coached under Ned Yost and managed the Cubs the last couple of years. And this coaching staff has changed with a couple of veteran managers being added to the mix. So we'll step aside here on the Sports Radio 810 Hot Stove Show. Joel Goldberg, Jeff Montgomery, Dale Swaim joining us in just a little bit. And then later on in the show, the new beat writer for the Kansas City Star, Andy McCullough, who is at spring training. Stay with us.
Whatever you require for audio, video, and broadcast solutions, it's Professional Video Supply. PVS is a leading supplier and integrator of pro video and audio gear for the Midwest. For the boardroom, worship, production houses, medical facilities, TV stations, and sports networks, PVS has it. Canon, Sony, Yamaha, Sharp, and hundreds of others. From a single camera or touchscreen display to an entire TV studio, remember Professional Video Supply, the official video source for 810 WHB TV at pvskc.com. pvskc.com.
Dish and KC is half price. Looking for live entertainment? Nobody in town plays more live music than Jazz. Check out our website, jazzkitchen.com, for daily band listings. Both locations, the original on 39th and State Line, and at the Legends in Village West. Jazz, where there's always a party every night.
Some of the best teams in the world are in Kansas City. The Chiefs, the Royals, Sporting, and the Border Patrol.
The Border Patrol? St. John and Bucati? Those two guys couldn't hold on.
Easy there, fellas. We may not be the two godfathers of Kansas City sports like you guys are,
but we do know how to have a good time talking sports.
And having a good time like Gary Lezak has a good time.
Make the Border Patrol a part of your morning, just like I do.
Watch Sports Radio 810's Border Patrol, weekday mornings from 7 to 8 on 38 The Spot.
It's a good price. It's low mileage.
They were very straightforward about the lowest price and
no haggling, no hassle type thing. I'm all for that.
How did we do on your trade-in value?
Really well. I was hoping for half of what I got for it.
I got, over what I was thinking I was going to get for it.
We'll be back ourselves. Even if we don't live in the area, we'll figure out a way.
Flavorful steak you'll ever taste. That's why they call themselves Best Filet Mignon. Go to bestfiletmignon.com and order now. Choose between USDA Prime, Choice, or Select. Your steak is cut, vacuum sealed, and shipped fresh, not frozen like Omaha steaks. They even throw in the free shipping. Then grill them up and, well, you'll know what to do after that. Just promise you won't use any steak sauce, and trust me, for the best steak you'll ever taste, guaranteed, go to bestfiletmignon.com. That's bestfiletmignon.com and put in the coupon.
You buy your Midwest Ford dealers. Visit us at yourmidwestforddealers.com. Joel Goldberg, Fox Sports Kansas City. Royals Hall of Famer Jeff Montgomery from Sports Radio 810 and Fox Sports Kansas City. Monty, I always like when we're looking at history and your history to ask you, how'd you do against a certain guy? So you usually at least have an idea. How'd you do against Dale Swaim?
I would say I didn't do so well because he was the type of hitter, one being a switch hitter, and he could handle the bat well as a good contact hitter. Those guys usually kind of wore me out. So I would say the odds are that he did pretty well against me.
Well, we could ask him because he joins us right now. He's the new Royals third base coach and former Cubs manager, former Brewers manager, and coach under Ned Yost. He was 3 for 12 in his career against you. So,
I thought he raked me.
So, Dale, welcome to the show and welcome to Kansas City. We'll relive this, I'm sure, throughout the year, not because Monty will bring it up, but because I will every chance I get. Good to have you on. How things going?
They're going good. I mean, we've had some quick days, and you guys have been seeing this before. We've just been getting the pitchers through their PFPs and their sides and live BPs, and it'll be nice tomorrow when everything starts up and the position players are here and get things going. Because God, these guys have been chomping at the bit. Where our position players have been here for like 10 days now, I think.
Well, Dale, you have to be looking forward to maybe a little more relaxed situation with regards to moving to being a third base coach. I know being a manager is obviously a great opportunity, but I would assume that the pressure and the stress that comes along with being a manager maybe is sometimes a little more than what a guy would really dream about doing after his playing career.
Well, I mean, I started my coaching career in Boston, so you get a little taste of the whole, the press and the pressure and the media and all that, So when I took over the job in Chicago, it probably wasn't as bad as people thought, because I think even the fans and the media gave us a little, leeway, knowing what was going on in the organization and trying to rebuild or whatever you want to call that. So it probably wasn't as bad as other people have had in Chicago. I probably got the good end of the stick because nobody really expected a whole lot.
And I would think that based on the situation the Cubs have been in and going through the rebuilding, the process that we saw start here about 7 or 8 years ago with the Royals, it was a little bit of a surprise. I felt like when it was announced after the season that you weren't going to be going back with the Cubs. So you just take us through a little bit about that transition. And obviously there's a huge influx of prospects in a lot of organizations. The Cubs are one of those organizations that is fairly stacked with prospects, but aren't they still 2 or 3 years out?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot going on. They got some prospects, position players coming. They did pretty well in the trades. All the trades that myself and our coaching staff had to endure, as well as the players that were already there, trading Garza and Dempster and Maholm. And, these guys, right in the thick of things. Not that we were going anywhere, but, it really put us behind the 8 ball in the second half of the season. But they did get some pretty good players, from Texas and from Baltimore as well, Arrieta and Strope. But, so they've got some foundation that they didn't have, a couple of years ago, but they've done quite a bit through the trade system.
Dale, we really hadn't had a chance to see you much outside of seeing the Cubs and Brewers in spring training. Not a whole lot of interleague between these teams. Obviously, you come over here, you have a familiarity with Ned, you're aware of the players. Now you're seeing them up close firsthand, but what are your initial impressions? And the one thing we have heard from the day Ned took over as manager from Trey Hillman is how much the situation reminded him of the young Brewers. And in talking to guys, in the last few years like J.J. Hardy, they completely echoed that from the other side. What have you seen?
Well, I mean, I can't argue with that, because I was a little part of that. Obviously, Ned was there a couple of years before I got there in 2006 to Milwaukee, but there's no question about it. From J.J. to Prince to Braun, Corey Hart, Ricky Weeks, Giovanni Gallardo, some of these young guys that they did obviously a very, very good job in the system and drafting these young guys. But at the same time, it was a process. And if you just look back at the track record, maybe besides Braun, who was kind of an instant success. The rest of them, it took that 3 and 4th year, which where all our guys are right now, Hosmer and Moustakas and Escobar, and all these guys are right at that verge where they've learned, they've been in the big leagues, they understand what it takes to win at the big league level. Obviously, we have the pitching, the bullpen. We all know nowadays bullpens kind of win championships, and we obviously have that. We have the starting pitching, we have the number one, we have the defense, we have the speed.
Well,
so it's actually, to tell you the truth, I've been in the game 32 years now. And knock on wood, you don't want to, jump on anything. But it's the first time I've been with a team that you can say we don't have any glaring weaknesses. We have speed. We have probably, I think it's not even arguable that we have the best defense in baseball. Arguably, that last year, we had the best bullpen in baseball. Now the young kids, and we have left-handed hitters that can hit the ball out of the ballpark, that are ready to, to be winning hitters and understand what it takes to win on an everyday basis, to score that 4th run every single day, to give your team a chance to win every day. So it's fun, and it is very comparable to the Brewers, in about 2008 when everybody was ready to win, and we did make the playoffs, so it's very, very comparable, believe me.
I'm curious too, Dale. You get out there, and now you've seen all these kids in person, whether it be the BPs, the live BPs. I know the hitters, almost all of them are always out there early nowadays, the way things go. Anyway, taking their swings before they have to report. Who are one or two guys where you just had maybe that moment or that observation? You looked at them, you've heard about all of them, you've seen some of it from afar, where you say, "Wow, I can't believe that this guy is doing that."
Well, I mean, we have, they're probably a little bit all like that. From Gordon to Hosmer to, Hosmer's probably been a little bit more consistent. Hosmer's had obviously a nice rookie season, struggled a little bit, and then had a nice season last year. And I think there's some cogs to everything, and I think Moustakas is a big cog to that, being a left-handed guy that can hit the ball out of the ballpark and drive the ball and drive runs in. The fortunate thing we have with everyone on this team basically is we have two-way players. I was, got murdered in the last 2 years by Aoki. He's a Cubs killer, and so I think, on my standpoint, we all know that Chu's probably the best leadoff hitter in the league, but in my eyes, Aoki is. We got a nice leadoff guy that can set the table, and Gordon can move down the lineup and drive runs in. But, all these guys have been very impressive and been out here, and I think, just seeing them all out here, I come from a different era where, today especially with position players starting tomorrow, there probably wouldn't have been a position player out here today knowing it was the last day to play golf or spend time with the family or whatever, and we had basically a full group of guys out there ready to go and just chomping at the bit. So it's a refreshing situation where we have so much talent going on, and you have the pitching, and you have the defense, and you have the starting pitching, and it's a really refreshing way to start a new chapter in my career anyway.
And Dale, you talked about the pitching and defense. We know that's a real element in being a successful team. And you were talking about Aoki as far as being a quality leadoff guy. From a defensive side, what should we expect from Aoki?
Well, he's solid. Just like a lot of Japanese players are, they're very fundamentally sound. He played a very deep outfield at Miller Park with the Brewers, which took a lot of, extra base hits away. I never understood it because a lot of fly balls in Miller Park are home runs anyways. He's very sound. He'll come in on the swinging. bloopers. He comes in on balls really well. He's got a really good arm. Just a, fundamentally a guy that's going to see, when the day's over, he's probably going to see, 25 pitches, whether it's foul balls or takes or what. He's just that guy that's going to foul balls off and be a little gnat as a hitter. Jeff, as well as I do, those guys bug the crap out of you.
Yeah, he's the type of hitter I hated to face. Him and guys like Kenny Lofton.
Yeah, you make great pitches after great pitches, and they just foul them off. And he's that one. He's that kind of guy. And then he gets the line drive to left field. You're like, really? How many great pitches am I going to make? He's one of those guys which, this time of day, it's very, very difficult to come up with, good leadoff hitters. Everybody wants the chew with the 420 on base percentage and the 410s, but most teams are very, very, very happy with the 360 on base percentage. And guys are going to see a lot of pitches and make those guys work a little bit.
Well, we're looking forward to it, and I've had two people that I'm close with say nothing but great things about you, Dale. My good buddy Craig Kashan, who does what I do up in Milwaukee, and then our good friend Jamie Quirk, who Monty, of course, has been friends with him forever. He was my broadcast partner for a year before Monty came on, and I will admit, and this probably isn't a good thing, but I do remember at least at one point, Monty and I walking back from a game in Cleveland this year, in Cleveland, and stopping at one of our favorite establishments, noticing that you had been tossed, and all we wanted was to see Q make a pitching change.
Yeah, I try not to get tossed. I think I probably average about 6 or 7 a year, but Jamie did a great job, and a few guys kept their job there in Chicago, and I wish Jamie would have, because Jamie's awesome. What a great guy, and did a great job for me, and hopefully Jamie can get back in the big leagues, as well.
Well, Dale, I thought I saw some video clip the other day, and I saw number 21 in the background, which was my old number, and I thought it was you, and you just have to confirm, was that Dale Swaim that I saw wearing 21?
It was, but I can't believe your number's not retired. And saying that.
Well, you'll get it retired.
Hey, believe me, my 3 hits against you, if that's true or not, that's great for me, hitting 200 against anybody.
I thought it was 4 hits.
No, it was 3 for 12, so the average was pretty good, and there were 2 doubles in there, so, we got some slugging percentage going, too. I already did look up the numbers against Saberhagen, and we won't mention those, because you'll be more likely to kill us when we see you.
Oh, no. Saberhagen was all on my thumbs. It was I didn't like the ball inside, so where Saberhagen was coming. I knew it was coming. I still couldn't get it out of there.
Joining the crowd on that one, right?
Yeah, one of many. Well, Dale, we're looking forward to a fun year. I know I'll be out there on Friday, so catch up with you then, and we'll definitely look forward to picking your brain and having a great season.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure, and looking forward to seeing you guys.
Thanks, Dale.
Thanks, Dale. All right, that is Royals third base coach Dale Swaim. I think we'll have a lot of fun with him. And to me, Monty, as we head to a break here, to me the most important thing from our standpoint, there's a lot more important things they do as far as working with the players, and you only see, fans only see the coaching, the base coaching, and that kind of stuff, but so much early work and so much video work and so many things that go on behind the scenes all afternoon leading up to a game, and for those coaches even before that. But they are oftentimes our greatest resource as far as what's going on with the team and the players and who's working on this and that. And so we're kind of looking forward to, hearing from a couple of new guys this year.
When I knew Dale Swaim as a player and, hearing Jamie Quirk talk about him, what a great guy he was to work with in Chicago, certainly we're going to have a lot of fun with him during the course of the year.
All right, more coming up. We're going to visit with Andy McCullough of the Kansas City Star as we continue on the Sports Radio 810 Hot Stove Show, brought to you by Independent Tire Dealers, locally owned and operated. Find an independent tire dealer near you by going to itdroll.com or call 1-877-ITD-ROLL.
Whatever you require for audio, video, and broadcast solutions, it's Professional Video Supply. PVS is a leading supplier and integrator of pro video and audio gear for the Midwest. For the boardroom, worship, production houses, medical facilities, TV stations, and sports networks, PVS has it. Canon, Sony, Yamaha, Sharp, and hundreds of others. From a single camera or touchscreen display to an entire TV studio, remember Professional Video Supply, the official video source for 810 WHB TV at pvskc.com. pvskc.com.
Dish in KC is half price. Looking for live entertainment? Nobody in town plays more live music than jazz. Check out our website, jazzkitchen.com, for daily band listings. Both locations, the original on 39th and State Line, and at the Legends in Village West. Jazz, where there's always a party every night.
Some of the best teams in the world are in Kansas City. The Chiefs, the Royals, Sporting, and the Border Patrol.
The Border Patrol? St. John and Bucati? Those two guys couldn't hold on.
Easy there, fellas.
We may not be the two godfathers of Kansas City sports like you guys are,
But we do know how to have a good time talking sports.
and having a good time like Gary Lezak has a good time.
Make the Border Patrol a part of your morning, just like I do.
Watch Sports Radio 810's Border Patrol, weekday mornings from 7 to 8 on 38 The Spot.
It's a good price. It's low mileage.
They were very straightforward about the lowest price, and
No haggling, no hassle type thing. I'm all for that.
How did we do on your trade-in value?
Really well. I was hoping for half of what I got for
I
it.
got, over what I was thinking I was going to get for it.
We'll be back ourselves. Even if we don't live in the area, we'll figure out a way.
Flavorful steak you'll ever taste. That's why they call themselves Best Filet Mignon. Go to bestfiletmignon.com and order now. Choose between USDA Prime, Choice, or Select. Your steak is cut, vacuum sealed, and shipped fresh, not frozen like Omaha steaks. They even throw in the free shipping. Then grill them up and, well, you'll know what to do after that. Just promise you won't use any steak sauce, and trust me, for the best steak you'll ever taste, guaranteed, go to bestfiletmignon.com. That's bestfiletmignon.com and put in the coupon code Jacobs.
There's a volume issue, I guess, in New York that there isn't here. So I have no complaints on that front.
What have your initial impressions been? I mean, you're coming in here at a time where the buzz is as good as it's been in a generation.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a team absolutely where you can sense the confidence. I mean, it's not sort of a boastful thing. It's not an arrogant thing. You can just sense that these are a lot of guys who played together for a while, who know each other pretty well. Got a taste of, winning baseball last year, and they feel like they're really primed to, potentially do something special this year. And, obviously there's a huge gap between, feeling that way and, it being possible. But, this is the fifth team I've covered, this fifth year I've covered, baseball. And I will say, this is the first time I've really sensed that among a team, that there was kind of a sense of anticipation. With the Yankees, so often it was just about making sure everyone was healthy and just trying to survive spring training, basically. And with this team, these guys are so young, and there's still so much unknown about what they're going to do in terms of development, that that's pretty exciting. That guys could take steps forward and become, if not superstars, then all-stars and all that sort of stuff. So it's been interesting so far.
Well, Andy, you've obviously had a chance to watch the Royals from afar when you were covering either the Yankees or we were in New York playing the Mets as well last year, and I'm sure you had a chance to see the players again from afar. But now that you're there covering the team on a daily basis, and obviously you've seen more pitchers than anyone up to this point, who stands out? Who's that guy you said, I really had no clue that this guy was as big as he is, or throws as hard as he is, or can do the things that he does?
Yeah, I forgot how big Sal Perez is. I mean, he is a large man, and that's a good thing. Obviously, as as a catcher, that he sets such a big target, and that makes what he's able to do behind the plate that much more impressive. Watching a guy like Yordano Ventura throw, you're just amazed that a guy that small and that slight can sort of generate the velocity he does, and obviously that leads to the immediate questions about whether something might go wrong. But just watching him up close is pretty impressive. So those are two guys who have just jumped out in terms of you forget when you're just looking at a baseball card or looking at their baseball reference page what they actually look like, and when you see it up close, it's pretty interesting.
I'm interested to hear from you, having covered the New York Major League teams, and obviously being a team in the Midwest and a team that has not won for decades. The Royals really under the radar screen last year maybe put themselves to where a lot of they got more national coverage than they've had for a long time. And now coming in, are you surprised that the Royals were able to stay under the radar screen, having seen the talent and the team that they have put together now?
Well, it's interesting, because a couple years ago on a national level, everyone was talking about the farm system. I think, Baseball Prospectus called them, the best farm in a decade or the best farm ever or something, But so there was a lot of anticipation for when guys like Hosmer and Moustakas and, Sal Perez and all these guys would establish themselves at the majors. And then I think what the city and team has experienced the last couple of years is just how hard it is for young players to succeed at the major league level, even, supremely talented ones. And so it was interesting because, a couple of years ago, everyone was talking about Kansas City, here comes all these prospects, they're all coming up together, and then, guys struggle, guys get hurt. You've had a couple of prospects and, Lamb and Duffy, getting Tommy John, and, Moustakas still trying to figure it out. Hosmer hasn't put together that prototypical season that I think people were expecting from him. And so all these things that, that were sort of predicted a couple years ago, they haven't happened yet, but it hasn't really changed the talent level. And so, I'd always sort of been waiting for, I guess, when this team, if they would actually live up to some of that promise. And this is the year, where they have a chance to do something like that.
Visiting with Andy McCullough, beat writer for the Kansas City Star in his first season covering the Royals. And Andy, I want to ask you a couple of work-related questions because everyone has their own style, and that's true for beat writers too. There's obviously a difference in comparing columnists to beat writers, and you guys really crank out a lot of information. But just in reading your stuff, I see that there are a lot of references to sabermetrics, which Monty and I really like, probably more than any of our partners. Not that they're against it either, but I think we tend to look at it a little bit more. But we tend. Monty, I'll speak for you because we spend enough time together. We tend to be on the middle in the sense that we kind of feel like there are tools for everything out there. I mean, there are sabermetric tools, there's scouting tools. You have to take it all in, and even reading the latest article of yours that was popped up there on Omar Infante talking about Alcides Escobar, the best in the American League, and then you go through the BABIP and some of the numbers. And that kind of lends to that whole, what are you seeing versus the metrics? How much will you use those? And then, being a beat writer, you obviously have more context and more connection to the scouts and the people in the game that oftentimes the bloggers don't have.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I understand that there are still a lot of people in this industry who don't like sabermetrics, who get annoyed by the numbers and everything. And, my response would just be the teams are using it. Pretty much every team in baseball, except for maybe the Phillies, has a pretty big analytics department, and it's a pretty big part of the decisions they make. So if you're not, paying attention to it and at least, taking a look at it and trying to learn how it works, I think, you're missing out on just what the industry's doing. But yeah, like you said, I had some stuff in there today just about how Escobar is kind of he was swinging too much. Basically, he was hacking at everything, and I had some numbers from Fangraphs, just explaining how often he was swinging outside the zone. It was a career high. And you combine that with, I talked to a couple scouts, and one of them was talking about how he just looked amped up at the plate and couldn't make adjustments. And that's what I try to do. I try and blend the two, and I know. The numbers jump out because sometimes, like, unfortunately today I wasn't happy that I had to use BABIP because you have to use an acronym and it looks dumb. And so, it's not like pretty, like beautiful prose to have all these, acronyms and stuff like that. But, it's, you have to blend it, and I try and do that as best I can.
I would say I've got some friends in the sabermetric community that would say that BABIP blends beautifully or is beautiful prose. So
I mean, I'm a WOBA guy. I can't use WOBA in print because you have to explain it, but I do like saying WOBA.
No, maybe we should start working on that on our TV show a little bit more often, because we could say that all the time, and it almost sounds like it sounds different than maybe it looks, almost more of like a Star Wars type of sound to it or something like that. But I think you could learn all the time.
Julie Brown used to say, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's, look, the game is always evolving. And so, but the other reason why I asked that is you retweeted a really fascinating article. I know it wasn't yours last night, and if I'd known that it was going to be as long as it was, I would have allotted the right time of day to be reading it, so I think I had to continue again this morning. But it was an ESPN The Magazine article that really, I mean, if people get a chance, and it was delving more into player development, and I think what the comparison was about the Angels and the guy that he found Mike Trout, but he also found Brandon Wood, and how this isn't a complete science.
Yeah, and Sam Miller wrote that, and he's a friend, and that was just a really great story. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you bring up, sort of the Mike Trout versus Brandon Wood thing, and you think about it with someone like Moustakas, like if the scouting reports on him were wrong, or if he's just struggling at the big league level, and either explanation is pretty plausible. I mean, the Royals insist that this guy is going to be a good major league player. This guy is going to help major league clubs win. But he hasn't shown that just yet, at least from the offensive side. As a defender, I think he's pretty solid. So it's not an exact science. There's no way of knowing, which, when a guy's going to be Mike Trout or when they're going to be Brandon Wood, and that's one of the hard things about building with prospects the way the Royals have done, is that you're relying on, just a very, very difficult and unpredictable enterprise.
Andy, I'm interested to find is being around Ned Yost for the first time and having a chance now to probably spend a lot of time getting to know him and hearing some of the comments, whether it be from Ned Yost or from Dayton Moore, anyone in the organization, is there any player or any stance or any comments that have been made that really just kind of stand out to you that maybe kind of caught you off guard?
No, not really. I mean, it's been a pretty boring camp so far. I mean,
and that's good.
Nothing's really going on. Yeah, exactly. From their perspective, it's great. No, I mean, to be honest, not really. It is nothing's, like when you're just starting covering a new team, you have to learn kind of their philosophies and that sort of thing. And so, it's not like shocking to hear, sort of the Royals player development people in front office talking about how important athleticism is, and, how they're looking for sort of, multifaceted players, not one-dimensional players, because, that's what they feel like they need to win. And, and I knew obviously how they felt about the ballpark going in, how they feel it's, how it helps them defensively, obviously, but it's a bit of an issue offensively. So nothing shocking, I guess.
I want to know what Ned Yost thinks about YouTube. You tweeted that today, and I'm not sure that I've ever talked to Ned about that.
The thing about spring training is you just need to talk about something, and you're just kind of, you end up sitting there, and I don't even know what started it. We were just kind of we were talking about how the internet, Ned was kind of talking about how, the internet, when he was a kid, it didn't exist, obviously, and I just asked him how much time he spent on YouTube, because I like YouTube. It's a good resource, and he said he's not really a fan. So, but these sort of conversations that don't really have much value, so you just put them on Twitter.
No, but they're fun. Yeah, they at least lend a little personality, and I was happy to see today that he has downloaded every season of Breaking Bad, and now if anybody's having like a really good, verbal battle with him and you're offended by something, you could really tick him off and tell him what happens to Walter White at the end.
You're sure, yeah.
It's not going to be me, though.
And, Andy, another thing about Ned you'll learn is if you ever have any issues regarding weather while you're in Arizona or even during the course of the season, Ned is spot on with his weather predictions.
All right, I'll keep that in mind.
No, I mean, to the point where if you're not sure whether the game's going to, I mean, because this affects your deadlines, and I know that the deadlines nowadays aren't quite as bad as they were because you've got the internet, but you still have your deadlines, and that can get a little bit tense. But I think because of his absolute need to get the weather right for hunting purposes, I swear he can read a radar better than, no offense to the meteorologists that I'm sure aren't listening right now anyway, than any one of them. I mean, Monty, how many times have we asked him, are we going to get this in or not? Has he ever been wrong?
Well, that's why I say he's always spot on with regards to the weather.
So, for your own selfish purposes, we'll give you that little tidbit. And
I'll be sure to keep it in mind.
Yeah, I mean, it never hurts. And I know I mentioned this in the text, but just because it's always fun to embarrass him, and he's not listening right now either, but maybe it'll get back to him. I loved the Urban Outfitter reference the other day in one of your articles, I think pertaining to James Shields, because that was the first Urban Outfitters reference we have had in a Royals article, at least since Bob Dutton took over, because as you can see in his Twitter picture, he rocks the turtleneck.
Yeah, they don't sell turtlenecks at O or UO, do they? That's all right. They sell lots of silly clothing there, I guess.
They do. On Friday, and appreciate your time and insight.
Sure, anytime, guys.
All
Thanks,
right,
Andy.
And look, if anybody signs, like if they sign an extension to any of these guys, just expect something about 10% of what Jeter had.
Yeah, fair enough.
As far as the coverage goes. Thanks, Andy.
All right, have a good one.
All right, that is Andy McCullough, new beat writer for the Kansas City Star. Monty, I just think it's fun to see the different styles. I mean, Bob Dutton is known in the business as being one of the big workhorses out there, and really just nonstop writing and really gets a lot of material out. I've been seeing a lot of the same from Andy, but a completely different writing style. Totally different
personalities, and it's going to be good to get to know Andy over the course of the season, as we'll be spending a lot of time in press box in a ballpark near you during the course of the season. So I'm looking forward to getting to know him. I know he's a Syracuse guy, so he's going to be pretty excited about what's going on in the basketball world as well.
Yeah, I didn't even mention it because Syracuse gets enough love on this network.
That's right.
Does it not?
One Petro-oriented.
Yeah, I mean, Petro doesn't need my help to pump up Syracuse, but yeah, they are awfully good. This is the Sports Radio 810 Hot Stove Show, brought to you by your Midwest Ford dealers. Visit us at yourmidwestforddealers.com. More coming up after the break.
The Sports Radio 810 Hot Stove is brought
Whatever you require for audio, video, and broadcast solutions, it's Professional Video Supply. PVS is a leading supplier and integrator of pro video and audio gear for the Midwest. For the boardroom, worship, production houses, medical facilities, TV stations, and sports networks, PVS has it. Canon, Sony, Yamaha, Sharp, and hundreds of others. From a single camera or touchscreen display to an entire TV studio, remember Professional Video Supply, the official video source for 810 WHB TV at pvskc.com. pvskc.com.
Dish and KC is half price. Looking for live entertainment? Nobody in town plays more live music than jazz. Check out our website, jazzkitchen.com, for daily band listings. Both locations, the original on 39th and State Line, and at the Legends in Village West. Jazz, where there's always a party every night.
Some of the best teams in the world are in Kansas City. The Chiefs, the Royals, sports. sporting, and the Border Patrol.
The Border Patrol? St. John and Bucati? Those two guys couldn't hold on.
Easy there, fellas.
We may not be the two godfathers of Kansas City sports like you guys are,
But we do know how to have a good time talking sports.
and having a good time like Gary Lezak has a good time.
Make the Border Patrol a part of your morning, just like I do.
Watch Sports Radio 810's Border Patrol, weekday mornings from 7 to 8 on 38 The Spot.
It's a good price. It's low mileage.
They were very straightforward about the lowest price, and
No haggling, no hassle type thing. I'm all for that.
How did we do on your trade-in value?
Really well. I was hoping for half of what I got for
I
it.
got, over what I was thinking I was going to get for it.
We'll be back ourselves. Even if we don't live in the area, we'll figure out a way.
Flavorful steak you'll ever taste. That's why they call themselves Best Filet Mignon. Go to bestfiletmignon.com and order now. Choose between USDA Prime, Choice, or Select. Your steak is cut, vacuum sealed, and shipped fresh, not frozen like Omaha steaks. They even throw in the free shipping. Then grill them up and, well, you'll know what to do after that. Just promise you won't use any steak sauce, and trust me, for the best steak you'll ever taste, guaranteed, go to bestfiletmignon.com. That's bestfiletmignon.com and put in the coupon code JACOBS.
Final segment on the Sports Radio 810 Hot Stove Show, brought to you by your Midwest Ford dealers. Visit us at your MidwestFordDealers.com. And Monty, I think it's interesting what Andy McCullough was just saying, and of course we know this, but one, that there's not a whole lot of competition. There aren't a whole lot of storylines as far as jobs go, and so that'll make it more boring on him. Less boring for the team to have that certainty, and so that's a good thing. I found it interesting that he said in his, 7 years or so of covering baseball, that this is really the first time that he has seen this kind of confidence from a team. And he had been around the Yankees, but in the Yankees' case, it was the health and the injuries, and I'm sure that even with the big payroll in New York, there's an expectation of more, or we still need this. We have to go get that. We don't have enough, and the pessimism. A reminder that the pessimism is everywhere, but very interesting to see that being in that big market, and then he comes here, and he's seeing, I think, the swagger that you and I and the confidence that we saw this team really begin to inherit as the year went on last year.
Yeah, and it really, we've talked about this a lot. It's a reflection on James Shields to start with, and then you got guys like Alex Gordon, kind of the silent assassin type leader. But I think in general the team has to at some point gel to a point to where they understand, and Dale Swain mentioned a little bit about understanding what it takes to win at the major league level, because there's a difference between playing in the major leagues and winning in the major leagues. And sometimes it's not a reflection on the team, it's a reflection on an individual and how things are perceived or whatever with regards to their performances. So there's the word chemistry, comes into play a lot. I remember a team in, I believe it was like 1990 or so, we had we had the National League and the American League Cy Young Award winners, Mark Davis and Brett Saberhagen, on the team. Were expected to just walk away with the American League. Just like in 2004, after the Royals had won in 2003, they go out and get Juan Gonzalez and traded for Benito Santiago. They're supposed to win the World Series in 2004. Both our team in 1990 as well as the team in 2004 got out of the gates really slow and were really never able to correct the ship and get it going in the right direction. So, sometimes boring's good when you don't have a lot of hype and expectations. Guys just go out and do their thing the way they're supposed to do it.
Chemistry's tricky, and I've talked about this before. All that stuff regarding James Shields, it's again one of the big challenges because you can't measure it. And so, I was talking about that ESPN the Magazine article, and one of the, it was talking about identifying and developing players, and we rate these drafts and we talk about how this guy is going to be that, and then this guy isn't that, and one thing I took away from the article was that no one person is the same, and so you can compare stats, but no one's wired the same. One guy might have personal stuff going on. Another guy might be a little bit lazier than the next guy who might work too hard. I mean, You look back, I'll put you on the spot right now. I mean, who was one guy, you were traded for a big-name guy too, but I mean, who was one guy that for sure had to have had a great career, and then there's no way, and this isn't
1 minute
as any offense, but there's no way anybody predicted that you were going to be the Royals' all-time saves leader.
Right, and that's, you find the diamond in the rough when a guy overperforms based on what his projection, or a lot of mine was based on my size. But once you get to the big leagues, then kind of everyone's created equal. It's a matter of staying healthy, and it's a matter of getting opportunities. Greg Holland's a great example, a guy that wasn't a number one draft choice, a guy that was able to work himself into the major leagues, and now he's going to find himself having a brilliant career.
And who was that guy that should have been great and just never happened?
Well,
30.
Jamie Bluma was the guy that was going to be the heir apparent to me as a closer in Kansas City, and unfortunately, the health was the issue. So sometimes it's things you can't control. It's not the performance. It's not because you don't perform the way that you're expected to perform. It's Mother Nature and the injury.
And so many other things, too. In Jamie's case, that's what it was. All right, good stuff, Jeff Montgomery. Appreciate the visits of new Royals third base
10
fame and Andy McCullough of the Kansas City Star. For Royals Hall of Famer Jeff Montgomery, I'm Joel Goldberg. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Whatever you require for audio, video, and broadcast solutions, it's Professional Video Supply. PVS is a leading supplier and integrator of pro video and audio gear for the Midwest. For the boardroom, worship, production houses, medical facilities, TV stations, and sports networks, PVS has it. Canon, Sony, Yamaha, Sharp, and hundreds of others. From a single camera or touchscreen display to an entire TV studio, remember Professional Video Supply, the official video source for 810 WHB TV at pvskc.com. pvskc.com.